Ladies and gentlemen, it's a real honor to be here. And wow, one research project can go quite a ways sometimes when you hit the iron while it's hot. And what I want to share with you is the hot topic of what this value chain represents in terms of innovation. So as Cathay just laid out for you, this is a very complex industry. 225 NEX codes following the Department of Commerce's categorization of industries, all intertwined as suppliers and buyers from one another, but ultimately resting upon the delivery of value to the consumers. They are the foundation of our value chain. They are the source of the value that we are creating. It has never been stationary. It is constantly innovating. Agriculture has been innovating since the Neolithic Revolution 15,000 years ago, and it will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. Our land grant system has been here since the 1870s, 1880s, and we've been serving agriculture with our innovation. But every now and then, it's a good idea to stop and take pulse, take an inventory. And the question we posed very simply is, who here in the state of Colorado is innovating within the industry that you see in front of you? How do we do this in a way that's systematic? What data can we find that will speak to us without too much bias? What we undertook, we call a landscape analysis, and we turned to a couple of R&D proxies. Scientific publications, which there are lots of databases that can share those with us. The one that we chose was the Web of Science, very well known. We queried it for the fields of science that encompass the entire industry that you just saw. Technology keywords relating to agriculture, veterinary medicine, water and hydrology, food science, bioenergy. And we found that over the course of the last 2 decades, 1990 to 2012, the state of Colorado had generated almost 15,000 publications in these agricultural sciences. We drilled down into that data to map it, to see where within the state that research is being done. And those bubble graphs are centered on the towns where the research was conducted. As you can see, all concentrated in the urban corridor of the Northern Front Range, Metro Denver up to Fort Collins. A little bit going on out in the smaller towns on the Eastern Plains and the Western Slope. Where does this come from? Colorado's science base is remarkable, actually, for its size. We, according to USDA statistics, when last available to us, are the 3rd out of 50 states in terms of USDA-funded research. This is a combination both of intramural research at federal labs, but also of the Ag Experiment Station funding here at Colorado State University, competitive grants to other institutions. That puts us right after California and Texas. And if we normalize our publication output by the size of our state GDP, you can see that Colorado punches way above its weight in terms of the agricultural sciences as a share of our state economy. The second proxy or indicator that we turn to in order to get a sense of what we're doing here in the state were U.S. patents. Patents represent commercially, hopefully viable inventions. We queried the U.S. patent data in the same way, looking at the same suite of technologies. And we found that Colorado inventors from 1990 to 2012 accounted for just about 5,000 patents filed with the U.S. Patent Office. And again, the location of where those inventors are situated within our state looks very similar to what we saw with the scientific publications. These patents represent about 85% industry, about 10–15% academic and public sector institutions. As Cathay alluded, Colorado State University is among them. The growth rate of patenting has been 6.5% on average per year. so significantly in excess of the economic growth of the state, indicating that private sector R&D by and large is becoming a much more important part of our economy here, and really right here within the Metro Denver and Northern Front Range. When we map all of that together, both the publications and the patents, there are a few things that we can observe. Colorado State University accounts for about half of those publications, the big red bubble up at the top. Interestingly, the city of Boulder is a more aggressive patenter in the technologies of the life sciences, probably some water technology in there, and some food, because there's quite a burgeoning food industry in our Boulder and Broomfield part of the quarter. But look at the density right there in Metro Denver itself. The urban core is, in fact, the heart of agricultural innovation in the state of Colorado. Why? We can postulate a number of factors that would make the Front Range a favorable place. Tony Frank already cited the figure that the U.S. Department of Commerce ranked Colorado #2 in innovation and entrepreneurship. The Kauffman Foundation has identified us as the 5th out of 50 states for entrepreneurship last year. Some of the towns and cities in the Front Range have won accolades as being amongst the most dense in terms of high-tech startups. But that's just the beginning. Really, to borrow a phrase from real estate, the 3 most important factors in driving innovation in any industry are talent, talent, and talent. And we've got a quality of life here in the Colorado Front Range that attracts and retains world-class management scientific talent. There are other regions as well. We've got an area, if you look at the map that we've shared, this is actually our crop coverage. We've got one of the most intensive agricultural production areas in the United States, let alone the Mountain West, that is intersecting directly into a high-growth urban core of 3 million, with research institutions strategically co-located within that area, unlike some other states. Let's pick Washington, for example, where University of Washington is on one side of the state and Washington State is, let's just say, on the other. We're not taxed with that kind of situation. We're all within an hour's drive of each other, and the companies that are driving most of this innovation are situated within the nexus amongst our major research institutions. Who are the companies and the institutions, and what are they into? Let me just give you a quick characterization of where our expertise lies within this value chain. Water technology, infrastructure, analytics, water management. We found 148 entities, over 100 and so of those are private companies, companies in the private sector driving water innovation. Soil fertility and pest control. Agrium is right down the road in Denver with their crop protection services in Loveland. Intrepid Potash, Luzanac America, some of the largest fertilizer companies in the world have their, at least American headquarters here in the Front Range, but we also have dozens of really interesting startup companies, several out of CSU here working in biologics in this area. Seeds, plant genetics, new plant varieties. We've identified almost 40 entities. Of course, Colorado State University has our wheat breeding program, our potato breeding, and other programs here. Pioneer Hybrid, a DuPont company, has their corn breeding and wheat breeding station in Evans. Syngenta has several facilities in the state now. Lima Grain has just set up their North American headquarters here in Fort Collins. Again, there are many smaller companies working in particular niche areas as well. We're a big livestock state. Animal health and nutrition, particularly here in the northern Front Range between Greeley and Fort Collins, has a very heavy presence. Animal Health International, headquartered out of Greeley, is the largest distributor of veterinary inputs and feed supply in North America. just one example. The big data that Chancellor Martin was telling us about in our 6th era of agricultural development, we're at the forefront of that with agricultural information systems. Trimble has a big agricultural operation not far from here. We've got many smaller companies working in this area, quite a number even here in the room today, working with drone technologies and trying to find out how to adapt that to agriculture. Food safety is a big concern for many. It's a big driver of our waste because we throw away food that we're concerned is off date. Sensors and testing and analytics for determining and managing product quality and food safety is another enormous area with over 40 companies and agencies here in Colorado. Bioenergy, taking biological feedstocks and turning them into transportation fuels is an integral part of this value chain, and we are at the vanguard of that with a couple of other regions in the country. Commodity processing and food manufacturing. JBS, USA, and Cargill on the meat side of things. We have Leprino in dairy. We have Ardent Mills in the wheat. We have many other companies manufacturing foods, an entire sector that I'll speak more about, really focusing on the natural and organic foods, but it's leveraging off of this core expertise in the region. Dairy product manufacturing really has distinguished itself in Colorado. It is, of course, a product manufacturing aspect, but this has taken off. White Wave, Horizon, Leprino, many others. We celebrated last night the liquid arts of Colorado, but beer, wine, and spirits are another area where, in particular, we're very oriented toward the consumer and their desire for value add. The natural, organic, and local foods that I mentioned, we've got hundreds of companies engaged in this. And also at the retail end of the value chain, the fast and fresh restaurants. We were able to identify well over a dozen chains that were launched here in the Denver metro area. Qdoba, Chipotle, Noodles & Company, Mad Greens, just to name a few that we're probably all used to just from driving down the road here in Colorado. All of this is summarized in a report that I invite you to dig into. If you want to look at who's who in any one of these subsectors, it's available on the website for the conference here and at the Office of Engagement at Colorado State University. There's a lot that we can do to help foster this. I think the most important point, and we're doing it right now, is to really begin to embrace as a civic polity, as a group, as a community, that agriculture, with its deep traditions here in agriculture in Colorado, also has an incredible future here in Colorado. Craig Beirut said it last night, that we are poised. I'm not sure I'm going to go this far, Craig, but we're poised if we play our cards right, both as a state government, as a land-grant institution, as an industry, to become the Silicon Valley of agriculture for the 21st century. Think big.